Hello everybody and welcome back to the Fantasy Football Fix YouTube channel. My name is FPL Phillips and it's time of the week for Eddie versus the algorithm, the series here on the Fantasy Football Fix YouTube channel where I'm taking on the computer generated algorithm team every game week of the 23-24 season, putting it up against my own free hit team for each game week, and we're seeing who comes out on top at the end of the campaign. So far, after last game week, it is now 15-7 to me in the scorings, so I'm pulling away quite a rather healthy lead. I'm not sure what point it becomes where I've actually won outright, but we're nearing that time really, and another week where I can hopefully get a win over the algorithm. We've of course got a double game week in this one, which sometimes makes the teams more exciting, sometimes makes them a bit more boring because they're just full of 11 double game week players. But on that vein, let's get into having a look at, first of all, how the computer team is looking for this double game week. And so we've got a 3-4-3 formation for the algorithm this week and a very, very nice 109 predicted points for the side. As you can see, the updated scores now make it 15-7. And with all that, let's jump into things. And look, first of all, in goal, where we are going to see a Luton defensive asset in this side. Kaminski is the first player to come into the 11. Manchester United and Liverpool, of course, not the easiest double game week by any stretch of the imagination. And perhaps it's going to be just, 4 points you're really hoping for from Kaminski. Maybe grab some save points here or there. But if you're having him for the double game week, you're pretty much expecting 4 points, maybe a save point here or there. Maybe if you can grab a clean sheet, then you're going to be looking at a very nice points total. But I don't think anyone's really bringing in Kaminski with too much of a hope with that regard. Of course, he does back next week as well, but most people will have coverage on the bench with their other goalkeeper. He is at a cheap price point. For some reason, if you need a goalkeeper, then you could go there. There are other ones as well you could opt for, but he doesn't look like too bad an option for a free hit team this week when you want to, of course, put those big teams, mainly having 3 outfield spots, taking them up. So in that vein, we'll look into the defence where we're going to see the first Liverpool asset of the bunch. That's Virgil van Dijk, who comes into the back 3. We've got another Luton defender with Doughty, and then our first single game week player as well, Kieran Trippier, is in this side. And Trippier, of course, there are some good single game week fixtures this week. Some very, very nice ones, especially in defence. And Bournemouth at home is a pretty decent fixture for Newcastle. They have been conceding quite a number of goals lately, and so maybe Bournemouth are going to hit the back of the net in that one. I would probably put my predictions on Bournemouth grabbing a goal in that game. But Trippier's still been picking up attacking returns as of late as well. And with players like Trent Alexander-Arnold looking like they'll be out, in some positions there aren't that many more obvious picks you can go for. Personally, there are a few other defensive picks I like the look of before going for Trippier, but that depends on, who's in this front 7 here from those other teams. That could make some of them are not available as options. So Trippier, as far as single game week players go for this game week, does look like one of the best options. Doughty, was it 9 key passes he made last week or something ridiculous without picking up an attacking return? I think owners could count themselves a little bit unlucky. And with 2 fixtures, although they are tough ones, as mentioned, I think he could do really well. And the same kind of goes for Bradley of Liverpool. He's not in this team, but I think if he is starting, which we'll probably know with the Liverpool lineup, given it's the early kickoff come Saturday, he could be a really nice pick to go for as well with that Luton game that Liverpool have got first. On the Fix website, it's a little bit annoying that the fixtures are arranged kind of in the wrong order sometimes because it's by alphabetical order. But yeah, we have got that Liverpool game. They're switched around on the website sometimes. But anyway, it's all a bit of a mess. But if in this graphic, hopefully things are looking okay. We've got Virgil van Dijk coming into the side as the Liverpool defensive asset. As mentioned, Trent is out. Bradley's not confirmed to start. Even if Bradley does start this first game of the double game week, then he could well be dropped to the bench for someone like Gomez or whoever it is who comes in at right back for the second of the bunch. So Virgil van Dijk, nailed on player, going to get you those starts. Good in the air as well. You never know with these set piece goals. Gabriel's been picking up quite a few attacking returns as of late. Van Dijk, maybe not as many, but there's always that chance, of course, in these doubles. In midfield, we're going to see a midfield 4 featuring another Luton asset. So we're already shuffled up on Luton with Ross Barkley coming into the midfield 4. We've then got Phil Foden, Luis Diaz and Kevin De Bruyne. So we've got a double up on the Manchester City midfielders, and that is the double up if you're going to go with one that you are going to go for. Foden's obviously had some great performances as of late. maybe a little bit unlucky not to return in Man City's last game, but, he's picked up a hat-trick in the last few game weeks. What can you say with regards to him and doubting him as an option? Kevin De Bruyne as well obviously speaks for himself and his quality and ability. Maybe a bit of a minutes concern is the only thing I would say there. And with Mohamed Salah maybe back soon, and maybe even sooner than we think, he could be one to keep an eye on. And if you're thinking about bringing in Kevin De Bruyne, then, of course, when looking at funds and planning weeks in advance, you're going to have to consider that and whether you're going to want Salah back in the near future if you're going to bring in the Belgian. Speaking of Liverpool midfield assets, Luis Diaz is the one of choice for the algorithm this week. Going with him over Jota maybe could be a bit of a price thing, but Luis Diaz has been able to kind of match Jota's returns. The underlying data doesn't look quite as impressive for Luis Diaz, but I think that he's a very nice alternative, and I was very much on the fence myself between who to bring in out of the two into my team last week. I just went for Diogo Jota, but again, if Salah's back, then you'd have to assume that maybe it's Jota that gets dropped for Salah, and Diaz is on the left, Salah on the right, and Núñez maybe keeps his place through the middle. Jota could equally play through the middle, so I guess Liverpool fans are the ones who are going to have the best job at predicting that, but I myself can't really put the money on it. If I had to, I'd probably say it's maybe Jota who loses his spot. And then finally, up front, we're going to see another Liverpool asset come in. So Darwin Núñez completes the Liverpool triple up. We've then got Ivan Toney, so a Brentford pick in here. And Brentford are a nice team to target at the moment, especially if you're looking to not kind of use your free hit chip in the next couple of game weeks. We've got blank game week 26, where a lot of teams are blanking that are doubling this game week of 25. And then we've got game week 29, where there are only like 6 teams that are confirmed to have a game in that game week, and Brentford are one of those sides. So going for a player like Toney from Brentford does lock you down with a player who you know is going to have fixtures in some very critical game weeks coming up. And then finally, we've got Erling Haaland, who many people will not just have the captain's armband on, but maybe even the triple captain armband for this game week upcoming. There has been some news I've seen that, he's not really nice to bring up, but it might influence the game. I think he might have had a passing in the family lately, and so people, bringing up funeral dates and all that kind of thing, which is obviously very sad. But if that does affect Haaland's availability, and maybe he might not be available for these 2 games, then it's just something to keep an eye on with news with regards to close to the deadline. Not something that anyone's going to enjoy keeping an eye on news-wise, but if he is off attending a funeral or something like that and isn't training with the side, then maybe just that little bit extra that might put some people off playing the triple captain this week, might move their chip to a different game week, or might even move the triple captain chip to a different player in their teams. So just something to keep an eye on, but as mentioned, we don't really want to bring that kind of stuff into FPL if we can help it, but it does affect the game and it does affect the Premier League ultimately. Finally, on the bench, we're going to see Gabriel, Norgard, and Ashley Young, I think that is, with Flecken as the backup goalkeeper. Gabriel in some fine form, and definitely one you could start in your teams and be quite happy with, putting him up alongside some of the doublers even for this game week, really. And yeah, that wraps up the algorithm team that predicts it a 109-point score for this game week. My team is as follows. And I've made some pretty significant changes. I've not gone with a Liverpool defender. I've kind of gambled all my eggs in the midfield, and I know all 3 probably aren't that likely to start, but if Salah's back, I want him, and given that I'm not going to be able to change my team on a Saturday morning, like I will with my own actual FPL team, I've just gone with all 3 of Jota, Salah, and Luis Diaz, alongside De Bruyne, stuck with Toney, Haaland captain, of course, Adebayo as my Luton attacking asset, who I like a bit more than Barkley. And then in defence, I've changed it up. I've gone with Nathan Ake of Manchester City, who I think is a really good pick. Man City could keep 2 clean sheets in those home games, and maybe, even if they do ship the occasional goal, like they probably will, like their usual selves, then Ake's not too bad of a prospect when it comes to getting attacking returns as well. And then finally, Reguilon, who I really do like on corners for Brentford. Again, with Brentford assets, you're picking up those fixtures in game week 26 and game week 29, where a lot of teams will blank as well. And so that's why Reguilon is maybe even my preferred pick to replace Trent Alexander-Arnold in my own team this week for a transfer. The double might not be the best, but I've just gone with him as a bit of a punt in this one. Only 4.4 million as well. A lot to like, I think, there with Reguilon. Him and Ake, it's between those 2 for who I actually go for Trent. Let me know who your favourite Trent replacement is down below in the comments, because I think it is a dilemma and a kind of thing that a lot of people are deciding on this week. A lot of people could even go, for someone like a Virgil van Dijk or maybe even a Doughty if you don't own those guys already. But yeah, that's going to wrap up my team. Let's have a final look at the captaincy side, because if, Erling Haaland is out, then we are going to need to decide on that. And of course, just reiterating, this is a completely hypothetical situation. I'm not sure on the concrete news, how concrete this news is surrounding Erling Haaland and his family, and I don't really wish to delve and bring up people's private business. But if Haaland isn't available as a captaincy option, or it looks like there might be some doubts around his minutes for any reason, then here are some other options you could go for. Predicted points would have De Bruyne in second place behind him, I should say, with Salah on 10.2 as well. Diogo Jota doesn't look like too bad a pick either, but if Salah is fit and available for the game on Saturday at 12:30, then you've got to probably maybe think about, can you use 2 free transfers or something like that if you haven't already, to maybe get Salah in and put the captain's armband on him. Personally, myself, I think I'd rather just go for Jota if he is starting, but there's all that chance that maybe Salah's starting and Jota's benched on the Saturday, and all will go into meltdown in those final 15 minutes before the deadline or something, when we'll most likely get these leaks, I should say. The expected goals conceded actually put Liverpool's fixtures as the nicest of the bunch this game week, which I think a lot of people kind of knew already, and Liverpool have actually been performing the best as an attack as well, 2.26 XG for them, compared to Man City's 1.88. And Darwin Núñez actually isn't too far behind Erling Haaland in terms of expected FPL points. That, of course, incorporates stuff like XG and XA, as opposed to how many goals the players actually end up putting in the net. So we know Darwin gets good chances. Just a shame he misses quite a lot of those. But Mohamed Salah's expected FPL points is the best of the bunch on 8.31. So, if he is back, fit and available, it is a really nice prospect, and maybe try and get the Egyptian King into our teams for this week, or definitely in the near future. But of course, consider that he does blank next game week. So bringing him back in this week is very much a bit of a gamble, especially if we don't have any news. But I'm assuming we're only going to really think about using a hit or something, especially to get him back in if there's concrete news that he starts on Saturday at 12:30. So yeah, thank you very much for tuning in, everyone. That's going to wrap up Eddie versus the algorithm for another game week. I wish you guys all the best of luck, maybe hitting the 100-point club for this week. And in that vein, I'll see you soon for the next episode of Eddie versus the algo. Goodbye.